Hey fellas, today we're looking at the card of the man who replaced Babe Ruth. These are some of my favorite collections that I have. I only have four of the cards, which I got introduced to just probably this past year and just basically fell in love with them. They're the 1940 play ball set. And there's only four, so we're going to look at two pennant winners and we're going to look at two Hall of Famers. Hope you guys enjoy. Let's take a look. All right, let's take a look at our first Hall of Famer. So he was not playing in the 1940, but he was a manager. This is Sonny Jim Bottomley. One of the things I love about these 1940 play ball cards is that they include their nickname down here. Now, Sonny Jim Bottomley was the guy who was well known for his play with the St. Louis Cardinals and also played a year for the Reds. And you can see some of his lifetime stats here on the bottom. And apparently was one of those guys who was just extremely fast. He ended up finishing his career with the St. Louis Browns. And of course, if you remember, the Browns are the team that would eventually become the Boston Orioles. The St. Louis Browns had wanted to move to California, I believe to San Francisco. And Major League Baseball said no, they didn't think the West Coast was ready for baseball yet. And so eventually St. Louis Browns would end up moving over to Boston or Baltimore and become the Orioles, and that would eventually pave the way for the San Francisco Giants to be the first team to move to San Francisco. Sonny Jim Bottomley. So he's our first Hall of Famer we'll take a look at. The next player we're going to take a look at, he was considered one of the fastest center fielders of his day. He is our first pennant winner that we're looking at. 1939 pennant winner for the Cincinnati Reds. Wildfire Kraft. They would eventually lose the World Series to the New York Yankees. They would actually get swept. And in 1940, they would go back to the World Series and win it against the Detroit Tigers. Now, Mr. Kraft did not have many years in the major leagues, but he was supposed to be a very fast center fielder and eventually would also manage to include, I believe he was the first manager, though my memory can now be wrong, first manager for the Houston Colt 45s. All right, for this next card became, as soon as I saw it, a card I really wanted to have. And the reason for that is there's not many greatest of all time cards that I will probably be ever able to buy. But this card is the exception. And this is the greatest shortstop who ever played the game, in most people's opinion. And in fact, it will say it on the back here as well. So, people call Honus Wagner the greatest shortstop who ever handled a ball. That's right. This is a Honus Wagner card. And this could have been how I actually started the video, but I kind of like the Babe thing better. Honus Wagner is, the more I find out about him, the more I like him. He wasn't happy with those famous most expensive cards he ever had. It was the T206. And he wasn't happy about it because he didn't want kids to have to buy cigarettes to get his cards. And there's a video, and it's been redone. if I find the link, I'll put it on YouTube. But he's talking, he's out there playing ball, and he just sounds like one of the kindest guys you want to talk to. He was one of the guys back in the day who would actually talk to the rookies and help coach them. And when I got this card, I about jumped out of my seat. I love this Honus Wagner card. The 1940 play ball cards are just something special. They're just incredible. But the bow-legged man, the greatest shortstop to play the game. Of course, I'm sure people have other people on their list as well, but Honus has got to be up there. Honus Wagner. And so the last card I got to show you guys, and this card is the reason I'm making this video. And yes, I'm very proud of my Honus Wagner card. I like my Wildfire Craft card as well. And of course, Sonny Jim Bottomley, which was actually my first ever 1940s card. But when I stumbled across this card, it became one of those cards of I have got to get this card eventually. And so I got it. I have it. And, I almost get just giddy looking at it. So who am I talking about? And if I butcher his name, my apologies. But this is, let's do it this way here, George Selkirk. I don't know, that might be the wrong way to pronounce his name. So why do I care about George Selkirk? Well, he's the 1939 pennant winner. He is also they won the World Series that year. So this was 1939. They won the World Series. That's when they swept our Cincinnati Reds Wildfire Craft over there. He won 5 World Series in a pretty short career. But Twinkle Toes was called Twinkle Toes because of the way he ran. But what else is great about Twinkle Toes? Well, he's the guy who replaced Babe Ruth in right field. He's also the guy who batted third in the lineup. And when he replaced Babe Ruth, he took over the number 3. So he took over right field. He took over the 3 batting position, which got him the number 3. And, it's something today we kind of take for granted, all these numbers. But it was number 3 didn't get retired when Babe Ruth left the Yankees, which is kind of incredible to think about. Instead, it went to George. So what happened back in the day was they started putting numbers on these guys when based off their batting position. So George Selkirk and Babe Ruth had the number 3 because they batted third in the lineup. That's also why Lou Gehrig had the number 4. So when Lou Gehrig got sick with what we now call Lou Gehrig's disease, they retired his number. So the first number ever retired by the New York Yankees was Lou Gehrig, in honor and memory of him. And the next one would be number 3 for Babe Ruth, not for Twinkle Toes. Wow, what a great name. But yeah, so Twinkle Toes, old Twinkle Toes, had his number retired, but not in honor of him. It was in honor of the great Babe Ruth. And I think that was done in 1948, just a few months before Babe Ruth passed away. And so all those reasons are why I like it. I like the card. I love Twinkle Toes. When I saw Twinkle Toes, I had to go Google who this guy was. Like, how tough of a man do you have to be to live with the name Twinkle Toes. And if you're going to replace Babe Ruth and get all of the comparisons in your career for the rest of your life for Babe Ruth, you've got to be tough. And this guy definitely was one of them. So that's what I wanted to show you guys. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed everything. Once again, just a chance to show off some cards. Honus Wagner. Pretty amazing. And my favorite card that I was pretty excited when I got this card. And I got it off eBay. I was pretty excited when I won it off eBay. But of old, goodness gracious, old Twinkle Toes. What a great card, huh? And not really joking, he must have had a lot of mental fortitude to be able to handle. So I think they called him Twinkle Toes because the way he ran on his feet, and so I imagine it was light and fast. But then also you're replacing Babe Ruth, and in order to do that, you have to be willing to take a lot of extra criticism. And he did it for multiple years. He actually helped the Yankees win 5 World Series. So it's just really neat. So anyway, something to reflect on. I love the history of cards, and I appreciate you all watching. Hope you have a good one. We'll see you next time.